Hey everybody, it's Cheryl, lead Off Leash K9 Training, and it's Tuesday Q&A. I hope you guys are doing well tonight. And just to let you know, if you're just tuning in, this is lead Off Leash K9 Training. My name is Cheryl, and I have been training dogs for a few years now, and I have just launched this new Tuesday Q&A. So if you have any dog behavior related questions, feel free to write them in the comment section, and I will answer them for you. And you can also watch the rebroadcast after the live program. So I'm going to get started. Something I wanted to talk about this evening is permission-based dog training. If any of you have ever heard of that idea, it's pretty great. It's pretty awesome. So what it is, permission-based dog training. So if you have a kid, and they don't ever ask permission for anything, then they probably don't get what they want, or they get what they want without you really wanting them to have it. So it's much the same with the dog. If you are struggling with your dog and they are just ruling the roost, meaning they get on the furniture when they want, they run in and out of the house when they want, they eat all the scraps off the floor, they get in your bed at night, they pull on a leash, that is not permission-based dog training. Permission-based dog training it's not anything extravagant. It's just when your dog looks to you for direction and looks to you for permission to do things. It really helps them work on impulse control. So if your dog is reactive on the leash, is barking at people at the door and things like that, then they don't have very good impulse control. And so this concept of permission-based dog training is they learn through this how to have more impulse control. And they actually look to you for direction on many things. I mean, my dog looks, if he sees a dog coming, he actually, it might be coming from over there, and he will look at me instead of that dog. He will look at me when it's time to eat instead of the food dish sitting here. He doesn't look at the food dish, he looks at me. So this is permission-based dog training. He waits for my allowance for him to do whatever it is that he's thinking about doing. And sometimes it's yes, and sometimes it's no. So that's the concept of permission-based dog training. And it does wonders for your relationship with your dog. If you are struggling with your dog, then that's one way to really hone in on that and switch that around. So some of the things to do for permission-based dog training is you want to work on leadership. So some of these things, there's like 4 or 5 that, like, the first one is thresholds. So your dog should, if it's in a crate, when you open that crate door, it should never just go busting out of the crate. If you are opening your front door and the dog's going outside for a potty, it should never go busting through the front door, back door, whatever. When you open the car door and it gets in or out, it shouldn't just run in. It should sit, look at you, and then you say, okay, and it can get in or out of the car. Now, do these things have to last forever? No, absolutely not. My dog looks at me always for food, always to get out of the car. There are some non-negotiables that he has to wait and look at me, but out the front door in the morning at 7 a.m. to go to the bathroom, I don't make him wait and look at me. But I'm not struggling with him anymore either. I never have struggled with him because I've always kind of had this going on with him. So definitely make your dog wait and look to you before crossing any sort of threshold, whether it's the crate, the front door, in and out of the car, etc. The second way you can start creating this with your dog, and it also just helps build leadership, is have the dog wait for food. Waiting for food is the concept. And if you're just putting a dog bowl on the floor and your dog's just free feeding all day long, then you're missing an incredible opportunity for you to create leadership over your dog. So it's like what you tell your kids, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, your dog shouldn't think that that the dog food's just always on the floor. So if you take this opportunity and make your dog go to place or sit down somewhere and wait for you while you pick up the dog bowl, go get the dog food, they hear the sound of the kibble and the dog food or the can opener, and then you come back and you set the bowl down, and here's the bowl, the dog's not doing this, it actually looks at you and you say, okay. And then the dog gets to go and eat. So if you want to try to do that at home, it's pretty simple. Put the dog bowl down. The dog, if it doesn't do it, if the dog just starts looking at the dog bowl like this, then pick it back up. And then the dog's going to start looking at you like, well, where's the dog? Where's the food? And then you put it back down and it's going to stare at the food. And you can make a kissy sound or say your dog's name. You can go, and it might look at you for a second. And then you'd say, good. And then you'd let it eat. So you can build upon that time, the dog staring at the food, and then he looks at you and you catch that and mark it with a good or a yes or an okay. And then it's time for the dog to eat. Then the next day you put the food down and the dog looks at you and the food and then you and the food. And it finally looks at you and holds it a little longer. And then you say, good, okay, or something, and the dog eats. So that is a great opportunity to build leadership with your dog. Have them look at you before they can eat their food. Again, actually, my dog does this every day, morning and evening feedings. He does it with me. He does it with anybody that's feeding him, my daughter, my husband. It's just a really good opportunity. It takes 30 seconds, not even. It takes 5 seconds for your dog to just wait and have a look and have a wait and look at you and eat the food. So definitely make your dog wait and look at you for permission to eat. So that's a second way. The first one was thresholds. The second one was waiting for food. And if you're just joining, my name's Cheryl Albrecht. I'm with Off Leash K9 Training. And right now we are talking about permission-based dog training. Instead of just having your dog have a free-for-all, ruling the roost, they actually have to look for you for direction and guidance. And it really creates a balanced relationship with you and your dog. So the first thing I talked about was thresholds. The second thing I talked about was waiting for food. And I will also, after this broadcast, I will put links to videos that talk about all these. They're pretty short videos, anywhere from like probably 2 to 5 minutes if you want more understanding about these concepts. So the third thing that you can do is teach your dog a really good heel. If your dog is out in front when you're walking and it's pulling on the leash and its head's going everywhere, looking everywhere, then you're just missing another opportunity to have great leadership with your dog. If here's you walking and here's your dog, maybe I'll do it this way. So if your dog's out in front, here's the dog, it can't see you. Its head's just all over the place. Actually, I'll use my head. Here's the legs, here's the people walking, and then here's the dog. So it should be like this, so the dog can see the legs. If the face is out in front, the dog is just scanning, looking for anything. But when they can see your legs, they're going to be in tune with you. So if you don't want to have a really structured, AKC heel, that's fine. But just don't let your dog be out in front, pulling on the leash, scanning the environment for what's going on. Keep your dog behind you or next to you. That's going to create a huge leadership opportunity for you. It's amazing. I can change a dog's mannerisms in moments with a training collar and a shorter leash. So I'm going to talk a little bit about flexi leads. I had a question about that, but you just want your dog next to you or behind you so you can be controlling the walk, not your dog. How many times have maybe somebody said to you, who's walking? Who? Is it your dog walking you or are you walking the dog? There's oftentimes people will kind of make a joke about a dog pulling an owner down the street. And that is another opportunity you're missing to create leadership. So get that dog next to you or behind you. Another way to work on this permission-based dog training concept is if your dog gets on the furniture, and if your dog isn't struggling with aggression or reactivity in a big bad way, and it gets on the furniture and you just, that might be something you're doing with your dog, which is totally, totally fine. It's totally, hi, Ann. Thanks for joining. Hey, Mandy. It's great if your dog is on the furniture, if you have a well-behaved dog. But first off, your dog should be able to get off when you ask your dog to get off. It shouldn't just get on and then it takes over the whole couch and you have to push it off. It should know a command such as off, and you point, or you just say off, and the dog jumps down. So teach that command. Again, if you're just joining, I will post links to these videos that I'm speaking of right now, these concepts. I have a couple short videos that I will post after the broadcast. So you can come back this tomorrow and or over the next few days and watch maybe 4 or 5 short videos on these concepts so you can create better leadership with your dog. So back to the furniture concept. If your dog is just jumping up, that's not okay either. They should ask for permission. Again, permission-based dog training. Your dog should come to the edge of the couch, like right here, and have a sit. Tioga, come here. Tioga, come here. All gonna have, he doesn't get on the couch. He probably won't do it. Come here. But this is what it should look like. Come here. Come here. I just made him get off of his bed. Come here, buddy. Sit. Come here. Sit. So he's going to sit right here if he can. There he does. So, well, there he is. Sit. Well, he's not going to sit. Come on, buddy, sit. Well, he just doesn't get on the couch. He's going to sit and look for some scratches is what he's doing. Oh, he's going to lie down. Anyway, he should just come over here if he were a couch dog and sit down and look at me for permission, like, what can I do? And then I'd say, up, and I'd clap the couch and he'd get up. So that, good boy. So again, getting on furniture is okay if you have a pretty balanced dog, but they should ask for permission to get up, and they should also get off when you say off. So that's the 4th thing. And there's 2 more that you could do. There's place command. So again, your dog should know how to go to place. And I know some of you guys know that out there. Have your dog go to place so when people knock at the door or ring the doorbell, your dog's not busting a move to the front door to greet the guests before you do, or barking crazy. So the place command is a good one. And the 6th one is the concept of a structured walk. So again, like all these concepts, they don't have to be forever, but you should start doing them today if you're struggling with your dog. And then you will find your relationship's going to change, and you'll know when you can start backing off on some of these concepts. But this last one is a structured walk, and it has to do with the 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule is 80% structure, 20% unstructure. That ratio can swap over time. So 80% structure is they are with you, next to you, behind you, looking at you for permission on the walk. The walk starts before you leave the house. The walk starts when you think of the walk. So you get the leash, the dog comes over, you make it sit, you put the leash on. The dog doesn't get up with the sound of the clip, clip. It sits and waits and looks at you. Okay, the leash is on, can we go now? And then you say, okay, let's go. Then you get to the front door. Do you open the door and the dog busts through? You have the dog sit. It should automatically do this, but work up towards it. The dog sits, you open the door, the dog's sitting, you open the door. The dog doesn't look out the door, it looks at you. Can I go yet? And then you say, okay, let's go. And the dog moves through the door. So that's, your walk starts in the house. It starts before you put your shoes on. So all these little things, picking up the leash, the sound of the leash going on, those aren't cues to go out the door. The cue comes from you saying, okay, let's go. And you start your walk. The dog doesn't just sniff all over the place when it wants to. It doesn't pee and mark all over the place when it wants to. You keep it next to you, like I talked about, either at a heel or behind you, so you can control the walk, not your dog. So you decide, okay, my dog probably has to potty. So then you get to a point where you say break or some sort of release word, and your dog can go off and have its potty break. But then you bring it back in. You don't have to call it heel. You just bring it back in with your leash and keep it next to you. There are lots of concepts about how to do this with a dog. So if you struggle with that, I have lots of free videos, or put a comment up and I'll help you with that. But the concept is, do not let your dog have like free reign of the walk all the time. So 80% structure, 20% unstructured. 80% of the structure is keeping next to you, waiting for commands, waiting to be released to go pee. The unstructured part is the peeing and the sniffing, and you decide when that happens, not when the dog needs to go. If I notice Tioga needing to go to the bathroom, I keep him in a heel for another 20 seconds, and then I say break, and he gets to go off and go pee. I don't all of a sudden like, oh, he has to go potty, and I let him go. I notice it, I pay attention to my dog, and then I let him go with a break word. So these are 5 or 6 concepts you can do to really help your relationship with your dog. And it's all based on permission permission-based dog training. It's not just a free-for-all. It's like a dog having, or your kid having recess all day. If we didn't ever go to class and learn something and we had recess all the time, it'd be awesome, right? When we were little, but where would we be now? Or where would your kid be now? So you want to have some structure to your dog's life. And again, this is like the third time I've said it, you can change, some of those structure can go away as your dog's relationship with you improves. But if you're already over here with a not so great relationship with your dog and is starting to react or bark at people or bark at other dogs, you should be putting some of this stuff in place. I hope that makes sense. So if there's any questions on that, okay, I have a question here. What about two people walking a dog? Does it cause confusion? Yvonne, is that two people, like two separate people walking? Like one's going this way, you don't know each other, or you're walking side by side and it's your friend? Is that what you mean by that? So Yvonne, if you can clear that one up, I want to be sure I know what that means. And Nicole, what about dogs that are scared of loud noises in cars? Overall, they are well trained, but only when the e-collar is on. First off, Nicole, and then I'll get back to you, Yvonne. First off, Nicole, you should put your e-collar on in the morning and take it off at night. Some dogs really get conditioned to knowing when the e-collar's on. That's why I put it on in the morning and I take it off at night. And if you do that consistently for a couple of months, you might not need the e-collar so much anymore at all. You might leave the remote at home. You know what I mean? But put it on in the morning, take it off at night so they don't get conditioned like, oh, e-collar's on. Now I know I'm back in the house, e-collar's off. I don't have to listen. Keep it on all the time, first off. And when they're scared of loud noises and cars and you just have to have I would suggest a really solid heel for you. Get that dog in a heel, and you have to see maybe you get a car that comes around the corner and honks the horn and you can't necessarily see that coming, but you definitely want to try to see the distraction or hear the distraction before your dog does. And watch your dog. If you see a loud UPS truck coming, you know the UPS truck is coming at you and it's going to make a loud noise. So watch your dog. When you see your dog start going from, I'm going to do the Cesar Millan dog thing here, but it's like walking, mouth open, ears back. But when you see the ears go forward and then the mouth closes, that's a 90% signal your dog's getting on a 1 out of a 1 to 10 for reactivity. So start cueing into your dog. See what's going on around, but then watch your dog. Look to see what his or her behavior is doing. Is the tail coming up? Are the ears coming forward? Is the mouth closing? Are the ears still back? Is it still just cruising along next to you with ears back? Check out what your dog's doing. If it's about to react or it does react to a loud noise, I will use a higher level correction to get that dog back in heel. If it broke heel, then I will use a higher level correction to get it back in heel. So when your dog does get scared of things, an e-collar actually helps. So I just had a dog last week, Yvonne's dog, who was outside. I was getting dogs put away, and this big crack of lightning, like flash and crack all at once was right overhead. And this big German Shepherd ran straight down the road. And so I grabbed the e-collar remote. I turned it to a pretty high number because I wanted that dog to hear it through all that scared. He was scared. She was scared, that scared distraction. I wanted her to hear it, wanted her to feel it. And I said, come. And I tapped that button at a 50 something, and she turned around and hightailed it right back to me. So it broke through her fear and reminded her of what she should be doing. So I would suggest doing something like that, Nicole, making sure you're seeing the distractions or the loud, kind of anticipating that loud noise coming, watching your dog. And if they do react, do a higher level sort of correction to get them back into the command that they were in. And so Yvonne, talking about when your dog, okay, my husband and I walk the dog together. If I'm in command, she heels with him if we're walking close. So you just have to be a little more firm, and maybe this is what happened on the go home session too, like maybe have Brett be a little bit away so she's really listening to you. turn that number up. So on the e-collar, because I know Izzy's on the e-collar, sometimes dogs work well with a lower number and a continuous on the e-collar pressure versus a higher number with a tap. So Izzy, higher number. We know her numbers are all over the place. Higher number though, heel, tap. Make your voice a little, not louder, but a little more firm so she hears it, and then have Brett be a little further away, or just take her on your own a few times a week. You know, that's what I would suggest doing. If that didn't answer your question, let me know. Okay, Yvonne? So those are some ideas for permission-based dog training. And if I didn't answer those 2 questions from those people that commented, let me know, and I'd like to clarify that. Let's see. I had a couple of other questions that came in this week. Hey, Carrie. Hi, Meg. Hi, Amy. I had a couple of questions this week that came in on my YouTube channel, and one person said, my dog has severe separation anxiety. I can't crate her. What can I do? She's 9 months old. So I want to talk about a little bit about separation anxiety, because if this dog, she doesn't want to put her in a crate because she doesn't do well in a crate, but she doesn't do well in the house either. And if I look at it, it has separation anxiety, whether it's in a crate or in a house. And to me, the house is just a bigger crate. So now you're creating a space where the dog might get itself into danger by ingesting something, chewing up the woodwork, chewing up the blinds on a window, all kinds of things. So if your dog has separation anxiety, you have to get it into a crate. You have to. And maybe you need to hire somebody. Maybe you need to tough it out and put the dog in a different room. If it's not chewing and breaking teeth, and it's just crying and whining, let it cry and whine. Let it cry and whine, because if you can't get it over separation anxiety in the kennel, it's still going to have separation anxiety in the house, and you won't, or chances are in the house, it's going to get into bigger trouble because there's more things to get into and rip up and destroy and ingest and end up at the vet. So find a local trainer to help you get your dog crate trained. That's what I would suggest to that person, the YouTube question. And another question, my dog is reacting to other dogs. It's a pretty good dog. I know this woman, Jess, and her dog's pretty good. We've talked about her, and she said, but now she's starting to react to other dogs on walks. She wants to know what e-collar she should get. She wants to use the very low level or a vibration. So I talked about this last week. I'm going to talk about it again. It's kind of a reoccurring thing. Get an ET300 by e-collar technologies. Don't get a cheap e-collar. These are like $180 to $200 collars. Get a good one. You get what you pay for. So that's what I recommend. And as far as just wanting to use it on vibration or a sound, a tone, the problem is, in a nutshell, the world is full of distractions. They are low level, walking down the beach on a sunrise walk, nobody else is around, to New York City where you have taxis honking and people yelling at you, to being on an airplane where there's crazy turbulence and you think, oh my God, are we going to crash? So, but these distractions go up and down all day long. So imagine your dog seeing and hearing all kinds of distractions. There's a dog, there's a new dog. Oh my God, there's a cat, there's a squirrel, a loud noise. So your the distractions are doing this. Your dog's mind is doing this. Therefore, you need a way to touch your dog or communicate with your dog that can do this as well. So if you're just using a vibrate or a tone, it's just here, constant, citronella. It's the same. It doesn't get higher or lower. It's the same. So you want to be able to override whatever the distraction is and whatever your dog's mind is doing. So don't get a good e-collar, use the stimulation features, teach it low-level conditioning so you can use it as a pressure on, pressure off. How do I get this thing to go away? And then teach it a good heel, Jess. Teach it a really good heel. I have told people to get Larry Crohn's book on Amazon. I can't remember the title of it, but if you just search up Larry Crohn, Krohn, and his e-collar book, it's about $10 on Amazon. get yourself an e-collar, a good one, and read that book, and it's really going to help you. So you are going to condition to your dog the right way to using e-collars. If you can't find a balance trainer near you that does it well, then get that book because it'll really explain it to you. And you want to do the low level conditioning before you just put her out in front of that high distraction of whatever kind of dog she reacts to. Work with it in the house, low distractions. Go into your yard, medium distractions. Then finally bring it out to where those other dogs exist that make your dog crazy. And then make sure that, before you knew the heel was really good in your house and you knew the heel was really good in your yard, now you're going to check it out there where the distractions are really high. And at the second part of Jess's request and question is, you want to teach it what to do, and often what it shouldn't do goes away, but sometimes she's still going to react, and then you have to correct it. So you're not going to pussyfoot around on a 15 or a 20. You want to go to a higher number where right when, again, back to what I was talking about earlier, like dog's cruising next to you, here's your legs, it's all of a sudden mouth closes, ears goes up, tails up. You're seeing this on a scale of 1 to 10. Your dog's at a 1 now. Watch it right there. And as soon as it makes that motion to, you zap it at a high number. 1 or 2 of those, I like to say 1 and done. That's it. Your dog probably won't do it again. If it does, you got to go higher. So low level e-collar conditioning really helps. It teaches them what to do, and then what they shouldn't be doing goes away. And sometimes you just still have to do a higher level correction. All the treats and T-bones in the world, you can distract your dog from that dog. You can keep it looking at you as you walk by and not looking at this dog. But I want the dog to, and you'll see this happen. Here's the dog. After a correction or some really good training, the dog will look at the other dog, and then it will look back to you. And then you're like, yay, we've done it. So it's gone. And this is permission-based training again. It looks at the dog, and then it looks at you for what should I do? And that's when you know you have it. You've done it. You've done a good job. So hopefully that helps, Jess, with your question. Let's see. Paige, yes, I just had this conversation this week. The stim buttons allow for flexibility. Vibrate and tone have no flexibility. Exactly. Dogs aren't static. Therefore, your e-collar, whatever it is you're trying to use to communicate with your dog, it shouldn't be static either. I mean, a T-bone steak is better than a dry piece of kibble. I mean, that's a difference. I mean, even if you look at rewards, it's like a kibble is not a T-bone steak. It's one's higher, one's lower. So keep that concept in mind. And I had a client last week saying, she loved the analogy that, that the e-collar is like Bluetooth or wireless communication for your dog. So if your dog's a half mile away, you can still tap them on the shoulder or jar them from whatever it is they're doing. It's an awesome tool. It's Bluetooth communication for your dog. And then I have another question for somebody that asked about, is a flexi leash okay to use with my dog? And I'll post this video as well, but flexi leashes are not what I prefer. I mean, it's just unless you have an awesome dog that recalls and comes and heals when you want, fine. If you don't have any issues with your dog, I don't care what they're not biting, they're not reacting to dogs. They come when you say come and they come, great, put them on a flexi leash, I don't care. But if you don't have that stuff going on with your dog, don't put them. Okay, I don't know what happened. Sorry if you're still there. I'm back on. My computer just disconnected. That's what happens when you live in the mountains, I guess. Anyway, this was my last question about the flexi leash. And I don't like flexi leashes. I think they're like recess. That's where I was going with this. They're kind of like recess. So if you don't have, whether it's a training collar, an e-collar, or just a well-trained dog and a shorter leash, you don't have good communication going with your dog. So a flexi leash, like I said, it's like recess all day long. So don't use it. Get a training collar, a choke collar, an e-collar, but train them on an e-collar, even a halty, something where you can have a better control over your dog, and use a shorter leash. And definitely be watching out for the distractions that are coming towards your dog. And when you see somebody walking towards you,
know where they are, but then watch your dog and watch your dog for cues that it's starting to amp up and maybe going to react. So that's that question on flexi leashes. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to put them in the comments. But that was about all I was going to touch upon today. I'll just briefly go over it again, but permission-based training, think about this concept so you can do this with your dog. It's having your dog, it's nothing fancy, it's just having your dog look to you for permission to do whatever it is. And there's some concepts that back it up. There's the concepts of thresholds, waiting for food, teaching your dog a really good heel, or at least to walk next to you or behind you. Also, if your dog is a furniture dog, which is fine if you're not struggling with your relationship, your dog should still sit and look to you for permission to get on that couch or that bed. And it should also know an off command. So when you're done with it being up there or in the morning in your bed, you can say off and the dog just hops down. The concept of a structured walk. Your walk starts when you think about the walk, not when you're out the door with the dog. So your dog should be waiting at every opportunity, whether you're putting your shoes on or getting the leash out. It should be sitting there waiting and looking at you, not the door, not the leash cue to get up and start running, but looking to you for permission to go out the door. When you're on the walk, it should stay in its heel or loose leash walk until you give it permission to pee. And again, all these things don't have to be forever, but the waiting for food should. The waiting to get out of the car should, because you don't want your dog just jumping out whenever. And some of these other ones can go away over time when you start getting your relationship with your dog back on track. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I'm sorry we had that kaputski with my internet. I'm not sure what happened with the Wi-Fi today. And next week, I'm not going to do a broadcast because it's spring break. And I'm setting good boundaries and spending time with family and not having any dogs with me for the week. So you won't see me next week, but I hope you guys all have a great break if you're having one, and a fun Easter holiday or just a holiday. And I will see you 2 weeks from tonight. If you have questions, put them in the comment section below and I'll touch on them next week. And thanks again for tuning in. Have a great evening, everybody. Bye.